My man, J.A. Gotti and the people, we are back. Wednesday, debate amongst friends. I'm Doc, the podcast beast. Always with me is the Professor John Gotti, the king of RNG, the troll master, the data analyzer, ninja, the conqueror of his own fate, the newly formed Terminator. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, get your brooms out. He is a cleaner.
Let me tell you something mean, Doc.
Oh, mean Doc.
When John Cotty comes roll around with his 2-inch pythons running wild, El Tranquilo Doc Elito. How are you doing? Because I am the best podcasting machine. Going
Okay.
wild
Oh,
on
oh goodness. He went full Hulkster on us. Okay, okay. I like it. I like it. Well, I'm doing great. You see what I did there? I went a little, yeah, a little hawk on you. But no, I'm doing great, man. I am feeling good. Um, just like one NFL prospect that we are, I won't say NFL prospect, one NFL star,
you. Mm-hmm.
not top 10 in my book, but that's okay. That we talked about last week, getting the fabulous just throw it in the bag theme played for him here as Jamal Adams becomes the highest paid safety on a 4 year extension worth the $72 million. Um, I don't know. So he
Well,
gets
the
a 20
72
million.
is the maximum.
Yeah, he gets a
The
$20 million.
contract is 4 years, 70 million, but of course, with
Yeah,
extensions, it'll be up to 72. Now, the real talking point or the real stagnation between them coming to terms was the amount guaranteed.
sure.
And Jamal Adams wanted 40 million guaranteed instead of the 38 that he actually ended up agreeing to. So,
Right.
I mean, $2 million is a lot of money. Let's not act like
Mm,
it's $200. Like it's
sure.
not.
Sure.
But his side was like, you know what? It's probably better for us to take this money, man. Like, don't need this out there.
I mean, and it does show that he gets a $20 million signing bonus.
Hmm.
So that's pretty awesome. And then you get the 38 million guaranteed. I mean, it's a pretty good deal, and he has a option bonus worth 12.5 million that can be exercised on the first day of the 2022 league year. Of course, that's according to Adam Schefter. But I think the plan for the Seahawks was to get this deal done. They I'm assuming they wanted to work out a deal again. In my opinion, not the guy I'm spending this on. Like, I know he's a pretty good player. He's a solid safety. He's young, right? At 25 years old. But I
But
haven't
he's
seen the
not
production.
$70 million for 4 years type of good.
I don't think so. Again, I saw other people, and like I said, the honey badgers out there, and he's just gonna be like, okay, obviously, I don't think he's gonna get paid because he's a little older, but
He's not going to get that kind of paycheck.
no, I don't think so either. But I mean, congrats to Jamal Adams. I mean, regardless of what I think, he's he's getting paid, right?
Well, obviously, he cared about what you think because everyone listens to Doc, the
I don't think so. I don't think so. But speaking of listening,
God.
okay, there we go. I'm glad you got that out of there. Speaking of listening, I'm wondering how many people are listening to football legend Brett Favre as he says that kids shouldn't play tackle football until they're 14. Now, I have seen a growing amount of kids playing flag football, um, growing up just so that they can learn the game and learn proper techniques. But this whole focus on CTE, of course, being a terrible thing going on that we've come to learn over the last couple of years, I guess this is a way that he's saying to prevent CTE for the
Yeah, but
next
that's
generation of
more
players.
on technique being taught, right?
Right. So to an extent,
Like, I mean, like a good majority of it is, technique and, proper ways of trying, because that's what the NFL still has some issues with, where
Indeed.
sometimes people would lead with the head. So
Yeah.
I mean,
It
you got
depends.
you got brought up, leading with your head, or just trying to get the ball or make the tackle as convenient as possible, and by any means, for the most part.
Hmm.
Yeah,
It
it's going to be
depends.
really hard for you to wean away from that. And I think a lot of defenders have did a great job in the past 5 6 years, you know, letting up on that a little bit further. So I mean, while I understand where he's coming from with that, the problem is, and this is what I'm thinking of, is as you're progressing from Pop Warner up to high school football, well, now you don't have that natural experience of getting that kind of contact. Now, we're not here to say that flag football has no contact. I mean, Doc
Oh, big time
can
conflict.
absolutely
Yeah.
confirm that there's a lot of contact in flag football, but we're talking about there's even more contact on every
Right.
single play with
And
every interaction.
I'll say this. I think when you look at the
Plus, I don't think they really play with pads in flag football, do they?
no, no pads.
Okay.
So I think with flag football, the one thing I'll say, being in it for the last couple of years now with the ladies, um, a lot of it does come down to technique. Obviously, there are still some people who do, bump heads or bump legs or something like that, but I think it does take that. If you're a lineman, for example, and you're always a lineman, you'll be, you know, having that head-to-head contact. Obviously, face mask hit. They pretty much hit on every play. So I would actually expect more people, especially the bigger kids, which is very unfortunate because they oftentimes just get put at lineman and then they're stuck there. So
Yep.
now you're playing 4, 5, 6 years old. You're a lineman, and that that helmet to helmet is hitting pretty often. But I love football at the same time. So teaching proper technique is important, as well as teaching proper hand placement and things like that. But I understand where he's coming from, but
Hmm.
the one thing I would say is there needs, if kids are going to play under 14, the emphasis on league needs to be a little higher. Um, in addition to that, I think maybe there does need to be continued effort to make the helmets safer, which I know that they've made leaps and bounds since Brett Favre has played, but there needs to be a higher emphasis on the equipment itself.
Absolutely. And the science behind this getting much more better, and they become more aerodynamic and whatnot. But
Hmm.
it's just like Doc said, it's about just having that awareness, teaching proper techniques, you know. But after a while, like it has to become instinctual at the same time,
Exactly.
And
I,
Doc, talked a lot about this in his interview that he did yesterday.
I did.
If you want to take like a few minutes to talk about your interview that you did.
Oh, sure. I didn't expect you to say this. I guess you're trying to put me on tilt a little bit, which is fine. I'm not somebody that gets easily tilted. But yeah, no, I had an interview with the owner of the league that we play in, um, the Elite Sports League, which is awesome, by the way, here in North Carolina. Here comes the mime, ladies and gentlemen. But I had a chance just to talk a little bit gridiron football and really kind of go over my philosophy, my coaching style, my vision for the team, as well as my vision for flag sports as a whole. We talked a little bit about how teams aren't getting paid, and how leagues should offer a pot, especially if you have 8 to 10 teams and they're all paying, $500, $600, like that's covering the field rental, that's covering the referees. I think there should be, even if it's a small pot, right? That's covering enough for you to come back and say, hey, here's a prize winning. So I'm kind of happy we had that conversation. But ultimately, it is about coaching the ladies up or coaching your players up to the best of your ability, and not overlooking who you have and kind of waiting for who you can get. So it was an interesting conversation, I'll say. the least. Um, I should have released that in one of our episodes, honestly. And so I
You
might,
should
I'm,
actually.
I, actually, I might do that now. Maybe that'll be Friday's episode where I just release that audio, and then we come back on Monday and talk about it. Yeah, I might try to download that and give that as a treat for the people. But speaking of treat, I guess this would be more of a trick than a treat. As Detroit Tigers TV analyst, Jack Morris uses a untimely, un everything accent during his play-by-play call. Um,
It was very tone deaf.
yeah, like don't get me wrong, I understood where it came from. No, no, no.
No.
Let me tell you. Hold on. Let me tell you.
No.
Is I will say this. This is what I'm gonna say. That's not the first time that something like that has happened.
Of course not.
But think about those times where it has happened and how there was no repercussion for it. You understand what I'm saying? Like there
Hmm.
was no repercussion. Um, you see it very often in comedy. Obviously, you see it very often in movies. Like I can't say that none of us have ever done a different accent. You know what I mean? Like it happens very often on national TV. No.
Mm-mm.
Um, and at this particular situation, it was classless, I guess, because it was a simple question like, "What is, show? Is it shohi?"
He had more than enough opportunity to not do that.
He did.
Like
Yeah, it was
he
weird.
walked himself into that.
The first name is
All
Shohi
he had to say
Atani.
was he just has to be careful.
Yeah. Wait, I mean, yeah, yeah, I agree. It's Atani, right? Shohei.
Shohei Otani.
Shohei. Yeah, I mean, what is it? Be very careful, and it's like,
Eh,
but the part that got me, and you heard me say this last week when I said be very careful, and I was referencing the movie Us. He could have went that route, but he probably didn't watch Us. That's a whole nother story. But in this situation, the apology is what got me because I'm listening to the apology, and he's like, "Yes, I want to apologize for my remarks for, Shohei Atani, right?"
yeah, he
But then
has to
it's
say his
like,
name incorrectly too, which
right.
made
But
it
then it's
even
like,
worse.
I didn't mean to offend in the Asian. So I feel like he was about to say the Indian community. Like it was about to get from bad to
Bad
worse.
to
And then,
progressively worse. I mean, it
and
became progressively worse for him, also having to apologize for it. Because, first of all, you're a TV analyst for a Major League Baseball team. Yeah, MLB already had this problem a few years ago with a
right.
baseball player doing the whole eye thing, and we talked
Yeah.
about that on the show. Like, so it's not like they wasn't aware that maybe we should be a little bit PC when talking about players or talking about current events and whatnot.
And I feel like this is gonna kind of blow out of proportion to
Of
where he'll
course it
probably be,
is.
yeah, he'll probably be asked to resign.
Yeah, yeah. This is gonna lead to a forced resign for Mr. Jack Oopsie Morris.
Oopsie.
Oopsie.
But let's continue on here. So back to go into some basketball news. Just wanted to give a quick shout out to Rasheed Wallace. Big shout out to Rasheed Wallace, who was the head coach of a high school team here locally in Durham, actually right up the street from me. Rasheed Wallace
Dang,
is
Doc, you
going to
should have just had
be.
Rasheed Wallace come on the show today.
I know I should have. I should have went over there and asked him. That's my problem. But Rasheed Wallace will be reuniting with not only Larry Brown but former NBA player Penny Hardaway in Memphis, which is a good opportunity for Rasheed. I think obviously he's been doing a great job here in Durham, but going to the college level, which is pretty good. Working his way up through the ranks. Um, Obviously, we know that Rasheed had a great NBA career, which is often overshadowed by his constant beef with certain officials. Don't
Like,
you look
and
at
I
me.
was just saying that
Don't you
for the
look
show.
at me.
Like I feel like that's the only thing that people remember Rashid by. But like outside of that, and the fact that he did feel like he was targeted, and there is this pretty strong case about that if you really
Yeah,
look
it
at it
is.
and you
Oh yeah.
microanalyze it. Like he could have
Hmm.
easily been, top 5 of his generation as far as best player in the league, hands down.
Hmm.
He was really, really good, folks.
No, I agree. I agree. But congratulations to him. Hopefully, Memphis is able to use him to the best of their ability.
Absolutely. But I have one more before we move on to our last few.
Sure.
Um, Big shout outs to Jackie Mack, Jackie McMullen, retiring from ESPN. NBA reporter for 40 years, joined ESPN back in 2010, 10 years with the company, moving on to bigger and brighter things in the future. She'll finish up her ESPN career with an Around the Horn appearance on August 31st. I will definitely be watching that episode.
Absolutely.
It's going to be awesome.
Absolutely.
But big shout outs to Jackie Mack. She's awesome, actually. Like for those that don't understand like how good she is, both as a player and then with her becoming a reporter and a journalist, like hands down, hands down, like one of the best.
Agreed. I'll definitely be looking out for that also. I will make sure to cover it on the show when it does come out. I'll look forward to that discussion, as well as the Kevin Durant and Draymond Green interview that's supposedly be this huge, ginormous thing. All right. So we'll talk about hopefully those things soon.
Sure, we'll talk
All right.
about that.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. You know the people
Sure.
want to hear about that.
No, I really
But
don't.
I understand. But also, huge shout out to the Sacramento Kings Summer League team. They were the first team to win multiple Summer League championships as they rout the Celtics and complete the Summer League with a 5-0 record. They won 167 yesterday. And this is the second time that the Kings have won the Summer League. They also won in 2014. So, I mean, shout out to the Kings. I mean, this is the time that they're actually relevant. And I
Yikes.
know that they're still building. That one thing I will give them credit for is that apparently they're good at evaluating talent and bringing in young talent. It just hasn't translated over to the big
Again,
floor.
that's more on the front office than it is on the talent.
True. I mean, it depends because if they're putting, it's weird because it's like if you're putting together a great summer league together, that's great. It's like putting together an AAU team, right?
Yep.
It's like how do you bring that over to translate on your active roster?
Well, and
Like
it's
what?
also not the same coach either.
Well, they run in the same system. So the coach usually, I know with the Rockets, they have one of the assistants. Actually, I
Yep.
think it's our defensive coach that coaches the summer league. So it is one of the coaches that's on the actual King staff. They're running the same sets. So what is the success factor of the system seems to work for these young kids? Where is the where are those skills transferring to the vets that you have, and what needs to be done to make your team more relevant is, I guess, the questions they have to ask. But lastly, the NBA has announced opening tip-off games, opening day games, as well as the Christmas showdown.
Yep. So prime time coming at you live and not
Hmm.
straight to DVD. To start off the NBA season, of course, we're not talking about the preseason. We
Please.
have your reigning, defending, undisputed National Basketball Association champions of the world, the Milwaukee Bucks, hosting where Brooklyn at? Where Brooklyn at? The Brooklyn Nets. 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The nightcap for opening night, we have the Los Angeles Lakers hosting the Golden State Warriors at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Wednesday, we have my Knickerbockers hosting the Boston Celtics. Nightcap for that night is the runner-up for the NBA titles, the
Right.
Phoenix Suns. I make sure people remember that too.
Yeah, because
They're
we'll forget.
hosting the Denver Nuggets. On Thursday, we have the Atlanta Hawks hosting the Dallas Mavericks, which should be a really, really good game. And nightcap, the Warriors hosting the Clippers. And to round off tip-off week, the 76ers hosting and bringing the process to the Brooklyn Nets. The nightcap game, we have a replay of the first round as the Los Angeles Lakers host the Phoenix Suns.
I think this is a good lineup. All playoff teams, way to highlight playoff teams on the opening tip-offs. I think this is good. And I'll let the Warriors stay in there. I know they were in that playoff play-in, but as
I
well as
love
the
how
Lakers.
the reigning champs only has one night during this week on national TV. I just want to throw that out there. I'll be that person to say it.
I don't expect them to be as good again. I know that they lost a few pieces, but we'll see. We'll see exactly what happens, but I'm not 100% sure. I can't understand that why they would only have one game, but I don't expect them to be as dominant. So we'll see what happens. I'm okay with this though. Um, yeah, we'll just have to wait and see how they actually do with their scheduling. Obviously, this is a young Celtics team that's going to be coming in ready to compete. Hopefully, the Bucks don't have a championship hangover, and they kind of forget about last season and move on. So, but I am interested in seeing obviously the Lakers versus the Nets, and actually the rematch between the Knicks versus the Hawks. I think those are the two games that I'm really looking forward to. I'm really interested to see how these new Lakers come together and how they gel, being that they have such veteran presence. But I'm looking forward to those two matchups in particular: Lakers versus Nets, and Knicks versus the Hawks.
Yeah, of course, everyone. Uh, and I don't know if you had a chance to look at the meme that the Hawks put out yesterday, but they did the Home Alone 2 poster
Hmm.
to show them coming to town. And of course, your boy Kayvon being Kevin
Oh,
McAllister.
of course. Keep on. Hopefully, he steps up. Right?
All I have to say is last year better not be an anomaly. I just want to see consistency this year.
Of
I'm
course.
saying it now. That's all I want.
Of course.
Consistency.
And they gotten better. I mean, they've upgraded the roster. They've upgraded the depth. So I believe that the Knicks will be better. See how injuries, affect everything. Let's see how, is Thibodeau the coach that's going to be able to get it done? We'll have to wait and see. We'll have to wait and see. But I know you heard this podcast on your favorite podcast platform. But if you didn't, you can always go to our website at www.debateamongstfriends.com to review this episode as well as all of the previous. Be sure to tune in mañana and every Monday through Friday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time as we deliver more news, more analysis, and the reads.
Respect.